Great. Let's start today's session. Before we start, let's stay silent for 5 minutes. Some of us might not be quiet enough to attend this session. So in the next 5 minutes, let's do our best to quieten down the mind. Just observe. Empty everything human beings have invented. Thoughts, images, symbols. Simply put them aside. And then let's start this session together. All life is full of issues, challenges, problems. One is at all serious to look around this world. There are also many issues. Politically, economically, commercially, socially, religiously. Issues are everywhere. Everything that human beings have touched becomes a mess. And this world is busy dealing with various issues. Their energy has gone to that. But what happens? Why do we have so many issues endlessly? When the energy has gone to various immediate issues, there's no energy left to inquire, to find out. It is a fact, isn't it? The mind is busy dealing with various issues. Therefore, it has no space, no energy to investigate, to inquire, to dig out the root of all issues. Without space, without energy, therefore, we have no capacity to actually deal with the issues. Capacity means space, doesn't it? The mind must have space. Space implies energy. When the mind is full, as most people's are, energy is wasted and dissipated in numerous things. Therefore, the mind does not have the capacity to penetrate, to go through the superficialities, go into psyche, to find out what happens. Without doing that, human beings have invented various theories, ideas, school of thoughts. But none of them solves anything. One may find satisfaction from a theory, but the issue is still there. Unless one is committed to gathering the energy to find out, to explode from inside. When one is at all serious to look at our life as it is, it might not be difficult to see that life is surrounded by various endless illusions. Illusion means that it has no meaning in reality. It is not related to reality. It is not true. But why is life full of illusions? Why does the mind depend on illusion? It can be a belief. It can be a theory. It can be a cunning expression. Various construct made by words, by thoughts, images, symbols. Obviously, they are all illusions. But why does the mind depend on them? Is that because the mind does not know how to deal with the actual? Therefore, the mind is escaping into various illusions, where it may find temporary gratification, pleasure, satisfaction. When the mind is tired of this illusion, when it's looking for another illusion, in order to perpetuate the satisfaction, the pleasure, and so on. So the mind is in a perpetual state of escape, therefore, restlessness. Is that so? Is that what is going on the mind? Therefore, we become more and more superficial. Everything becomes so phony. One must investigate to find out whether it is possible to live life without any illusions. That is to observe all the illusions as they are, without any judgment, without any opinions, just objectively observe the illusions as illusions. But when the mind feels that the illusions are very important, it can't observe illusions as illusions, because the mind has vested interest in that illusion. It might feel secure or find a sense of security, certainty in that illusion. Therefore, that illusion becomes tremendously important, and the mind can't see the illusion as illusion. That's to be what most of us are doing, right? The mind depends on the illusions. Therefore, the illusion becomes important, and the mind finds difficult to see illusions as illusions. How to break up that loop? That's to inquire, to ask oneself, why does one depend on illusions? Why does one seek certainty, security from illusions? When the mind seeks certainty from something, that something becomes true, feels true. Can we see the trap as it is? As it is? Can we see this mischief of the mind as it is? When the mind is seeking certainty from that illusion, the mind can't feel that it is illusion. And when that illusion can't bring certainty anymore, the mind discards it and for another illusion to depend on. So this continuity of seeking certainty from something is always there. Is that the actual difficulty for one to deal with the illusions? Is it? The mind always seeks certainty, conformity from something, from an idea, thought, opinions, theories, belief. Why does the mind do that? One may say, oh, it is because the mind feels unsafe, unsecure. So the mind wants to find security. seek security from something. Is that true? Or it's because when the mind is seeking, the mind doesn't feel secure. And it wants to seek something to be secure. Please see it. It's a loop. When the mind is seeking, it feels uncertain, unsafe, and then it continues seeking to be secure. Can one see this trap as it is? Note the mind feels secure, feels unsecure at first, then the mind seeks. The expression is an illusion. But when the mind is seeking, it feels not secure, and it continues seeking to be secure. But therefore, illusion comes into play. And the mind keeps switching to different illusions to perpetuate this temporary sense of security. But the mind never feels secure, actually. Please see this trap, this fundamental trap. That is to say, when the mind doesn't seek, it doesn't feel unsafe at all. So the very seeking brings about insecurity. And the insecurity perpetuates the seeking. Please see it in your life. And in that loop, illusions are necessary. And therefore, such a state is perpetuated, and life is surrounded by various illusions. And all kinds of theories, school of thoughts, system of practice are spreading in this way. Not only in the Western world, but also in the Eastern world, the same problem is repeated. Because the mind that is seeking demands illusion, and therefore there must be other people inventing various theories, ideas to meet that demand. And can the mind be free of any traps? When the mind does not seek at all, there's no place for illusions at all. when the mind is free of any illusions, the mind is meeting the actual issue. It is meeting the actual challenge. It has the capacity to deal with the actual issue. And when the mind is dealing with the actual issue, the mind is free of any issues. When the mind is seeking, the mind is trapped in illusions. Therefore, the mind cannot meet the issue. Without meeting the issue is there. More and more issues are created and accumulated. Everything is messed up. And that is what is going on in the world, isn't it? In every field, in every place, everything is chaotic. And the politicians, the various people are making plans, but they can't meet the issue, actually. Therefore, the issues are never really solved. So can the mind stop seeking, which is a sheer action that must take place at each moment of life. Without seeking, the mind is not trapped in illusions. The mind is observing, seeing, perceiving. Therefore, it can discover, can encounter, and meet the actual issue. Seeing things as they are. Without inventing an image of what should be. That's only what is. And what should be is mere self-projection, which borders on illusion. Therefore, the mind, when it's pursuing that what should be, the illusion, it cannot meet what is. When the mind is meeting what is, living with what is, the mind does not seek. Therefore, the life is free of illusions. And only such a mind has the capacity to deal with all life challenges. But that is why it is very important to realize that there's no authority to guide you to that place, which is called truth or whatever. The very depending on the authority is an illusion. Therefore, the mind can't meet or discover the truth. We must stop seeking certainty from anything. So the mind stays with that feeling of being uncertain. Not running away from it, but stay with it. Then the mind is discovering. In that discovery, the mind may come upon what is true security. Which is never a product of illusions, thoughts, and so on. But when the mind depends on something to be secure, to be certain, it can never come upon that certainty at all. Physically, we do need security, right? Food, shelter, clothes, which are absolutely necessary to have that physical security. But why does the mind crave psychological security? When the mind craves psychological security, it destroys the security. When the mind is seeking it, it feels very insecure. Therefore, illusions come into play, and the mind is trapped there. Seeing the absolute necessity of the physical security, the mind stops seeking psychological security. There's no such a thing called psychological security. In other words, psychological security is an illusion. It does not exist. And when the mind is seeking it, it sounds true. Then all the mischief starts. So can one see this? Can one observe the mischief made by the mind, the thoughts? And can the mind stop seeking any psychological security? When the physical security is guaranteed. Right? One has food, one has shelter, one has clothes. What else does one need to ask for? But why does the mind keep asking for something? And that habitual asking for something destroys our life. That's why it is so important to inquire into the self, to clear all the psychological disorder, which not only confuses the mind, but also destroys our life. All of those demands one tremendous diligence, demands one's tremendous diligence, care, observation. To go into the psyche deeply, adequately. The observation must be deep enough, complete, fundamental. understand the whole society, seeing the fact that society is disorder. The way the society is running perpetuates various disorder, the psychological disorder. And one must observe it, see the truth of it. Please don't depend on the statement made by the speaker. One must say the truth of it. What the speaker says are pointing to that things, but one must find out for oneself. That's the foundation of our communication. The speaker is not a guru. It's not a teacher. It's not an authority. He's speaking the mind, what the mind observes. And hopefully, you can use this verse as a mirror through which you can observe what is false, what is true. And when each of us is observing, giving full attention, being diligent, careful, we must observe the same thing. Maybe the expression is different. It doesn't matter. But when the mind is escaping, it's scattering to different directions, as this individualistic society is. Everyone is in contradiction with each other. Everyone is separated, is isolated. And life becomes utterly meaningless, ugly. So it is up to one to do this. To gather energy from all sources of dissipation. And penetrate. And find out the thing which can be called the truth or whatever, which is never speakable, but one can perceive. When the mind can perceive it. Great. I think we have still some time left. Perhaps we can answer some questions. Let's look at this question together. Think together. to find out the actual issue behind all these questions. The answers are never beyond the question. It is always in the question. So here's a question. Why is there always the concern about the self? Why is there self-concern? First of all, we don't judge it. We don't say it's bad or good. Let's find out what it means to be self-concerned. Let's understand what is self-concern. What does self-concern involve? Is self-concern a thought process where there are various images about the me, about myself? When there's self-concern, the mind is engaged in various images about the me, isn't it? Perhaps the mind is signaling something wrong is taking place. Perhaps it is a false alarm. But let's find out what is the actual situation. When there's self-concern, there's anxiety, worry, fear, isn't it? And then we need to find out, to validate whether the fear, the anxiety is necessary or not. Suppose I lose my job and I have no money to live. And then there's a tremendous self-concern. I may worry because I don't have enough money to pay the rent or even for the next meal. And this gives me tremendous uncertainty, worry, and deal with the issue, not to deal with the self-concern, right? I need to make sure I can survive. And when that issue is solved, the self-concern is gone. Let's say when there's physical danger living in this society, self-concern is a signal for the mind to deal with the actual danger. But here, when there's no actual danger, why is there still self-concern? Is that out of habit? The habitual thinking? Is that the mind is asking for something more than the daily living? It wants to have a lot of money, wants to be successful, to be famous, and all the rest of it. Want to be respected, to be praised, to be applauded. Therefore, the self-concern is always there. Is that so? So the mind is trapped in various desires to be something, to become something, to achieve something, to have something more, and all the rest of it. Is that the cause that perpetuates the self-concern when actually there's no physical danger at all? The mind wants to be successful, famous, at the same time, be free from worry, anxiety. Please see how greedy the mind is. Please see the illusion of it. Is that because everybody around me is seeking success? That's why my mind is imitating, is following. Is that so? Can the mind be alone? Please look at the society as it is. The society is based on power, value, prestige. And the atmosphere of the society is seeking it. Success, power, money, and so on. Why does the mind follow it? When the mind is following it, the self-concern is there. The mind wants to be successful, at the same time wants to be free of desire, free of anxiety, worry. But the actual life is messed up. To the speaker, a mind that never seeks is a success. When the mind is seeking, life is a failure. Therefore, can the mind understand all of those and see the necessity of self-concern, see the illusion of the self-concern, and can the mind act, behave? can the mind step out of the vast stream of society? Can the mind do it? Oh, here is another question. How do we best train ourselves not to trust the mind so much? Please be aware of the word how. When we ask how, are we seeking something? Are we seeking a solution to it? Please be cautious of this word. Let's put aside this word first and observe together to find out why do we trust the mind so much. And trust the mind. What does trust the mind mean? We trust our experiences. Trust what we see, what we hear. Is that what we mean? Trust the mind. We think our experience is true. We think what we see is true. What we hear is true. But the speaker asks, and one must ask as well. Are they really true or not? The mind can pick up many instances. And those instances make up the experience. Well, we don't really examine or to observe how the mind pick up the instances. And when the mind pick it up, we just take it and make it part of our experience. That's why we don't see the bug of it. Because we don't observe, we don't notice how the mind picks up the instances. Similarly, what the mind sees, what the mind hears, is also up to or subjected to various instances. It is rather a random process. But most of us so depend on words, expressions. Therefore, we don't observe how the brain reacts to words, reacts to images, how the mind associates one image with another. So this process is full of mischiefs, but we don't observe them at all. Therefore, we get stuck in our trust of various experiences, words, images, symbols. And we believe in ourselves. And that believing enhances the self. So can one do it in one's life, to observe deeply, carefully, how the mind picks up the instances? how the mind reacts to verse. It means that we must observe that the mind is so easy to take a verse as a thing. When the mind takes the verse as a thing, we can't observe the operation of the verse on the mind. Here, please listen to this fact. Verse are never the thing. Can one observe it in one's living? Words are never the thing. The very demand to see the fact of this bring the mind the awareness to various mischiefs the mind is making. When the mind starts observing, seeing all this, then the mind won't believe what the brain presents. Because the mind is observing. Without observing, the mind is always hold on to something. And that gap is very, very short. So it is necessary, or absolutely necessary, for one to find out the essence of language. Of course, we can't talk about it now because it's another very big topic. We can do it in the future sessions. So it is very necessary for one to pay attention to the language. And observe the dependency of the mind on the language. Perhaps that dependency makes the mind trapped in verse, which is called trust mind. But actually, no, it is all the mischiefs of those verse, images, thoughts. And this needs careful observation, penetration. The mind must be very silent, quiet, to observe all of those. All right, I think the response to this question is finished. Are there any more questions? Okay. Great. And that's the end of today's session. We have in quite a few things today. Uncertainty, security, seeking, illusions. Self-concern. Also, this experience. The mind is trapped in its own experience. All of those demands one careful, diligent observation in silence. And doing overdose is meditation. Life is meditation. All right. Let's meet in the future sessions. Take care. Have a good day. Good night. Bye.